Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tide. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
We'll be
Every
He
time
didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.
Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, brought to you by Penny Billionaires, the great alt-rock band from Arizona. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, man, doing fab. Looking forward to another jam-packed show. Guys, watch us every Wednesday night, 7 p.m., Mountain Standard Time. Catch us here, always bringing you the best and all the rest. And tonight, we got some of the best to actually talk about with a guest headliner that we didn't think we'd get on because we're dealing with, we thought a pre-recording, but we're not going to have to. They went out to the game tonight, and they're going to update us. So I'm ready to get right into this. Are you ready? Let's go with our guest headliner for the night. Hey, everyone. Welcome. All right, man. Hey, guys. Welcome, Sarah. Guys, this is Sarah Hillworth. She is the head coach of the University of New Brunswick Reds. Well, she's on a leave. We'll explain that in a little bit with the women's hockey team. She also has spent time as assistant coach with the Hockey Canada women's team at the World Winter Games in Lake Placid. Oh, man, that might have been a fun time. Welcome. Thanks so much. I know you're on the Eastern time zone, so you guys in Ontario, you got nothing on her. You guys can easily stay up. It's a little bit more difficult for her. Sarah, welcome to Two Guys in Hockey Talk.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you so much for attending. I don't know what Evan promised you, but hopefully we can deliver. But like any guest that we have on the show, we always like to ask, where did your love of the game of hockey first emerge? Was there a moment in time or a game or a moment in your life that you fell in love when you saw it?
Yeah, I grew up on the West Coast, so I grew up a Vancouver fan, and I had no choice but to watch the Canucks. Yeah, there you go. And I just loved Pawel Bure, and we would watch every single game. It was just like I just fell in love with it. I was more of a Gino Ojek than a Pawel Bure, that's for sure. But it just was ingrained in me, and my parents were just big lover of sport, and they wanted my brother and I just to play sport growing up. And the last thing that they wanted was for me to actually play hockey. And they tried to get me into figure skating, and after our first competition, the figure skating coach came up to my mom and said, like, she skates like a hockey player, there's no way she should be here. And she finally caved and put me in hockey, and I just loved putting the gear on, and I just felt invincible, and I just loved scoring goals, and there's no way that I was not going to play hockey, and it was just the best decision that my parents ever made. And they wanted me to be a soccer player, and I just was like, no, like, hockey's my calling. And I played with the boys up until Bantam, and once the boys got bigger than me, I switched over to girls, and my love for the game just kept going. I never knew that you could really get a scholarship and continue to play hockey at a high level. And until I skated with Haley Wickenheiser when I was a little kid, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. I want to be that. And I was very fortunate to kind of continue my love, and coached all the way through from really grade 2, I always say. I started coaching. All the girls in my class didn't know how to play any sports. So I used to get them to sign up on like my little do-a-tank sheet and like show them all the drills that we were going to do. And we'd go out and play whatever sport was up for the week. And all through high school, I coached, and I just continued to love. And once my playing career came to an end, I never thought I would be coaching at the university level this quick, but it's crazy how your passion for something changes. I've always been a competitor. I've always really loved. I was a gamer when I played. I hated practice, and now as a coach, I love practice. And games is just where you don't have much control, and you just gotta hope for the best sometimes. But I love the game even more because of the players that we have here and who I've coached before. So it's a passion that just continues to grow, and I don't know what I would be doing without hockey. That's for sure.
That's incredible. So I'm glad to see that you're still involved in the game. And we did a little digging, and so we found that you're very involved here on the bench. I don't know if you could see this. Tell us a little bit about that dynamic. And I know Evan's going to lead in a little bit more questions in terms of the in-depth coaching, but like, talk about this moment here. Are you going through a set play? Are you kind of directing where certain players should be? Is this a timeout that was taken kind of, I know it's a snapshot in history, but what's going on in this moment?
So this would have been from our first year. So this was 2017-18 when we brought the team back. So all those, and just looking at the players that are on the ice there, and we were, I always laugh because they were like cats. We had 18-year-olds. We were bringing the program back from 10 years of not having a program here at UNB. Haley Hallahan there, number 16. Jen Bell, 91 there. They were transfers in, so they were a little bit older. But everyone else you see in that picture would have been fresh out of high school. So I'm sure I was just talking them through, different things that I think it was probably a timeout, but just kind of talking them through probably some kind of system or correction we wanted to see. But that first year we had to do a lot of teaching. We had to do a lot of coaching on terms of what we wanted to see in our culture, and just a lot of concept-based kind of stuff. So it's kind of a cool picture to see because it just makes me smile because a lot of those players have graduated and moved on. Kendra's still there, the goalie, but it's a cool picture and just from that first year, and it's cool to see where that group has taken our program.
I'll let Evan get the next question in, but it just goes to show you that goalies do take forever to develop. So this is probably why she's there, right?
Oh yeah. She loves hockey. She's a gamer and she wants to soak up as many minutes as she can. So, yeah.
You also I was just checking some of your stats there, stuff that you're talking about. So you spent 2 seasons also with coaching in Ols. So. Yeah. Is that correct? Now, I'm just checking. Did you have a connection? Because we know someone we had on the show that was a goalie from the Campbell River Storm, Jaden Spooner. Were you connected during that time?
Yeah, I recruited her to Olds. And as I was leaving for UNB, she was coming in. And she's like, I talked to her all the time, like before. And she was the hardest phone call that I had to call up and tell her that I wasn't going to be her coach. And then she ended up at Windsor, coached by one of my good friends, Deanna. And she had an amazing career, like an amazing human being that I'm so happy that she ended up where she ended up for sure.
Yeah, no, she we actually had her on 3/4 of the way through last season,
really?
Just because actually, so her mom, who actually owns the Storm, so I actually went to school with Linda in Red Deer back in grade 9, like, so we go way back, right? It's just like a timing. So talking about reminiscing about different folks, the other thing I didn't know when we actually set this up is that you came out of the University of Alberta, and not last season, but the season before. at the beginning of our season, he was able to connect. So Pawel actually was able to set up. We had an interview with Howie Draper, his very first podcast, and so we got him. Yeah, before of course, so if you guys don't know, Howie Draper is now the Professional Women's Hockey League. He is the head coach of the New York team. Now, interesting, we asked him some questions around development, right? You know, we said, how do you get playing time? How do you develop them for the next level? And of course, he talked about, other than the national program, which he's been involved in so much, that it's not really like that for preparation, because there's not an NHL for women, right? Really, it's really hard to break into the NHL. I mean, very few women have even got opportunities, you know, just because of the way the game's been built. However, now with the PWHL, is that affecting anything to do with coaching at the university level now? Or is it all about academia and just learning sportsmanship and preparing them just for life? Or is there some element now, or will there be, that's going to move to thinking about women playing professionally a lot more now?
Yeah, I think, you know, for a lot of girls, no matter their age, if you can see it, you can be it. And so for our players now, they're like, wow, like that's something that I can do. And for us as coaches, we basically become a development league, right? All those other things that you talked about are absolutely true. Like, you know, women still need a degree. They still need to be able to leave their university institution and go get a job. And, you know, for many of them, they won't go to the PWHL. It's highly competitive. Maybe Europe could be an option, but I think for us, like, that's definitely a goal now, is to start being a team that is getting looked at by a lot of PWHL scouts, and being a development league that, you know, you look at our men's team here at UMB, a lot of those guys still have those aspirations of playing pro afterwards. And we want to be the same, right? So UMB, we want to be a hockey factory. We want to be able to say that we're putting players at the pro level next. And, you know, it's just our turn to step up to the plate and become a development institution for players, not only to get a badass education, but at the same time, know that that could be a possibility. And I think it's really exciting for me as a coach to be able to, you know, continue to develop these players. And, you know, for a lot of players, they might get better athletically, but when you become a better person, you as an athlete get better. So this, I think we can marry a lot of good things that we're doing in terms of pushing them to be the best person and individual that they can possibly become, and then just giving them the tools to be successful on the ice. And I think it's just going to give them the ability just to take off, and hopefully we start seeing a lot more of our players playing at that next level.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, as a coach, when you're going into any season or almost any game, and we saw kind of a photo, a snapshot, and you alluded to it, what are the kind of things you focus on for the players, both individually and as a team mindset? Are you focused, and I'm sure there's numbers, you know, with the power play, penalty kill, 5-on-4, what that looks like, you know, all those numbers. But what are you focusing with your coaching staff in bringing towards the team to be successful each night, so that your game nights aren't as stressful?
Yeah. It's funny because, like, it's changed so much. Like, I used to be such a transactional coach. Like, I needed certain things to happen. Whereas now, like, I'm definitely more into learning and being a part of their journey and learning. So I'm not necessarily as concerned with winning. We want to win the right way, and we want to win moments in the game. So we really break down what we're really focusing when we enter games. So, you know, the statistics that we're really focused on, but then just like the character moments that we can really build through hockey. Like I said, like, you can't really control much going into a game night. So I kind of let go and just trusted the process and our players understanding what they need. And it's my job all through the week to make sure that they go into that game day knowing exactly what they need to do to be successful on the ice. So for us, we just try and keep it light. We try and keep it fun. I'm very blessed to have a really good staff that can kind of help me in terms of those X and O's, and us being together as a group, making sure that we can give everything that we've got. Like, I was a player that was a gamer. I was like a hard-nosed player. I made a lot of people mad, but at the end of the day, when I'm coaching, I'm way more exhausted at the end of the night than I ever was as a player. And it's just I try and give everything that I got to the players in terms of motivation, just being on their side, giving them confidence, and then making sure that, they've got everything that they need. If they do fail, they can fall back on me and I can help them kind of go that way. So just having a clear mind, giving them confidence and making sure they're having fun. Like it's no fun playing for someone who's just going to stress you out all the time. And they got to trust me to be able to see things in the game that we can adjust to, but also have confidence in what we've kind of game planned and all that kind of stuff. So leading up to the week, our practices are very conceptual based and based on what we see in terms of characteristics that we want to see that we've identified. And then game day is just fun day. Like, let's go, let's compete, let's have fun and see how good we can become that week.
So before Evan gets to his next question, I'm going to ask, do you make them bag skate if they have a terrible performance?
You know what? The funny thing is we set up our weeks in 3-game series. So for a lot of our playoffs, our semifinals are 5 games, but finals are 3 games. And at nationals, it's 3 games. Like, you win all 3, you win the big prize, right? So we do best of 3 series. And if they win the series, they choose their what they win and their prize. And then if they lose those 3 series, they tell me what they want, like how they get their punishment, even though I don't like to punish them whatsoever. But if they feel that they've done a really bad job, they'll give me a good skate that they want to do, and I'm just sitting there blowing the whistle. But they all buy into that. They're just like, nope, this is our accountability, and we're gonna own this bag skate. But it's like a quick maybe minute or 2 of just a quick skate that they deem for themselves. But it's I find a waste of time at every level to bag skate them. But I think for an accountability thing, if they said they wanted to run stairs after practice, then we would do that just as much as a quick down and back works for me. So.
Oh, that's exhausting. Now, we seem to have lost Evan for a little bit. He clearly didn't want to even deal with the fact that he'd have to bag skate, so that's fair.
Yeah, you're bag skate out of here.
You're joining us tonight. You're the head coach of the University of New Brunswick Reds, and you've been an assistant coach for Hockey Canada's women's team. How do you find that dynamic in that level? Does that shift change when you get to another level, like a Hockey Canada women's team versus the university? And I understand there's different pressures, but do you see that elevated skill and more being brought to the game when you're going to the rink or to the games?
Yeah, I find it's a different athlete. Like, they're just like, we're very, like, we've got a great team and a great program, but when you're taking the best of the best and you put them together, excuse me, like, it's a different athlete in all the best ways. They're just highly motivated, highly competitive, and they all want to make a difference, right? So as a coach, you have to be very detailed and specific for them. And I find you have to find out how they want to be best communicated with, because they all want feedback. They all want to be the best. And it's different in terms of how you play them, because they're all used to being the best of the best, right? So you want to give them opportunity to be successful, but it's so fun when you have the top of the top and cream of the crop, and it's just a fun environment to be in.
So I got a question. I apologize I dropped out there. It's just like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I've been saying, so they're changing the fiber optics in my neighborhood, and I think they decided to plan in a late evening to make the switch or something.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. You might have answered this already, because you talked about you got to win and understanding, but it's not all about winning, right? Where it's a development. It's about the person, the connectedness. It's getting those concepts in. But when you're in game, and maybe this is just more at different levels, maybe when you're more in bantam, do you spend time line matching? So in other words, changing your centers, moving people out, seeing, and so you're doing in-game management. Does that happen a lot? Maybe you can explain that a little bit to people.
Yeah. Well, we were joking when you were away, but that we were talking about bag skating, and then you took off.
We were talking about bag skating.
Oh,
okay, yeah, I'm gone. So
yeah. I don't personally line match.
Okay, it's fair.
You know,
Yeah.
we try and put out players based on the certain situation that we feel that they'll be best successful in. If a team is line matching against us and I can get a line out there where maybe I feel I can hide them from their best line or something like that, I can get them on and off quick and maybe create an advantage. I like when other teams are line matching because I find that they're so hyper focused on what we're doing. And for us, we just let our girls continue to do what they're doing without being worried about what the other team's doing, right? We just
Okay.
trust in our team. We trust in our players that they're well prepared, and it's fun when other teams do it because it's like a little bit of gamesmanship where you're like, oh, I can create an advantage now, and then it's just a quick shift, and then you kind of like give that little peek over to the other coach of like, hey, I see what you're doing, especially when you have the last change. Like it's fun just to do those quick little things and just getting the girls a little hyped up on the bench, like just hey, let's be on our toes here, let's try and get that advantage. I feel like they're like yeah, it fires them up a little bit, but yeah, we don't do it. You know, I think we're just pretty solid up and down our lineup, and we're not scared of whoever the other team wants to throw against us across the boards.
Oh, okay, so let me just tap on that. So you guys won a championship. That was the only championship that the ladies team has won. So during that time, at the peak, at the you're in the heat of it, right? You want to win. Everyone wants to win now. Did you guys play slightly different in some of your game plans, or did you just stick to the same way that you did all regular season and into the early playoffs?
Yeah, so we won 2 in a row actually.
Okay.
So
Was it?
what's that? Sorry.
No, my apology. I didn't know that.
No, it's all good. It's the first one was different than the second one, and the first one I felt our character really took us over the edge. Where we just played hard. Like Saint FX had a brilliant team. They were very, very good. And if you looked at our 2 teams on paper, we had no business on winning. So that first one, we just played hard. We just played our game, and we're like, you know what? We probably have no business on winning this, but we went out there, we played together as a team, and we just really went back to our roots and made sure that we executed that plan. Whereas the next year, we knew how good they were, but we were also very, very good. So we changed it a little bit where the first time we kind of focused more on our character piece, where the next time we really just focused on, some X's and O's that we could really adjust and try and manipulate the game in our way. We ended up winning in overtime and on the penalty kill. So it was a back and forth game all game. They had one of the best, their best offensive team in the country, the best power play in the country. So now we're down a person there in overtime, and I look down on the bench and I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, this is not going to turn out great. But we ended up going down on a 2-on-1, and one of our players just feathered a pass through one of the best defenders in the country, just to one of our players who just taps it home. And I'll never forget the crowd and the reaction on it. But yeah, definitely the 2 of them were completely different on how we went into it, as going in as fresh eyes and a lot of being just naive to what we were walking into, whereas going in as a defending champ and having to manipulate, and then even being down a game. So we lost the first game at home. We won away, so the series was tied at 1-1, and then we ended up winning at home. So I thought that definitely changed it, for us as well too.
That's incredible. So you've been around the game for a while. You know, you've won. You've made an impact in all sorts of ways. Was there someone growing up, be it men or women, players or coaches, that inspired you or you looked up to then said, you know, I want to be like this person because they are a great leader. They really know how to connect with the players. They're a player's coach per se. Is there someone like that maybe you want to shout out or acknowledge? Or
Yeah. I had this old school coach in Adam, Jack Moeller. He passed away now. He was probably 80 years old when he coached me, but he was so old school. He had tube skates on, a wooden stick that I think he never taped. And he chose me on the team as a girl, and he really empowered me, and he used to like he made mention of me being a girl, but used it in a way that didn't create any barriers for me. And he even had a guy on staff that just doubted me. He told me all the time, I'm not playing you because you're a girl. You shouldn't even be here and all this stuff. But Jack would lose his mind on him. He just always had my back. And for being a guy that was like, he was an old guy at the time, and for him to have that mentality of you belong here, like I never felt like there was any barrier in my way that I couldn't do something. So I like looking back, and he made me feel special as a kid. And like I could probably tell you his practice plan because we did the same thing for an entire year. But he just made me love the game even more, and just made me want to keep coming back. And it didn't matter who I played with; it just always felt like I belonged.
No, that's amazing. Steve Roth has a question, but you have to type it out, Steve, because we don't know what you're trying to ask us.
We can't read your mind, Steve.
Yeah,
so we're just not sharp enough for you, buddy. Okay, so go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I'll get.
Okay, so one of the things that I was just going to ask you. So when you're talking about you're in these games, and there's all like, I mean, I love how you carve a story. It's just like I feel like I was there. So definitely, if you get out of coaching, I think you got to go do the play-by-play commentary. Definitely there's lots of opportunities. So hence one thing from early on with our show, when we started guest headliners, Leah Hextall actually is one of the first that joined us. So we've had her, we've had Cassidy Sauvé when she was playing out in Europe, so we had to pre-record the show. In fact, this year we had Carly Jackson already signed up, and then she got the tryout with Toronto. So now I have to wait till the end of the year. We're like, we got to, and of course we got Howie. Connecting with so many of you. We've always been a big promoter, so we're trying to tell the PWHL, come on, you got to kind of work with us, man. We're promoting. We're going to send people your way. So they're going to need color commentary. So if you decide to get out of coaching, or if you can't get into the PWHL, definitely got to look at that. How do you work with your players though, with nerves? So sometimes they get out there. It could be early on. They're really new to the team. They're not used to this. They're really good. But you know how some people's nerves, they have all this anxiety build up, and you're going to have to help them with that. Do you have any, special tricks of the trade that you help walk them through, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think I was talking to a player just the other day on it. She's like in her last year of eligibility, and I called her and I just said, look, this is your last kick at it. Like, how are you feeling? She's like, man, Sarah, I'm nervous. And I'm like, you know what? Nervous energy is the same thing as being excited. It's the same energy. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't be nervous. So just channel that energy in being excited. Like, just use that energy to go out there, get your feet going. And then we just talked about, like, what are your strengths? What are the things that you're really good at? And she's like, well, I'm good at this and that. I'm like, okay, well, pick one and do that your first shift. And if you don't get it done in the first shift, then do it the second shift. And, just kind of chip away at those things that you're good at, and just have like hyper fixate and focus on just one thing at a time. And once you feel comfortable in that, then go to number 2 and just kind of just segment the game and keep all those 5 minutes. So your first 5 minutes, how many times did you do the things that you think that you're really good at? And just kind of be focused on things that you think that you can change the game, and be the best teammate that you can be going forward in the game. And so I think it really worked today. She did a really good job. But, if you're not nervous, I think that you don't care. So you should be nervous. You should be excited. And it's just about making sure that you're aware of the emotion that you have, and then just channeling it in a positive way that's going to positively affect your team, and being the best teammate that you can be. And it's okay to fail. It's okay not to be the best, but at the end of the day, if you can't be your best in terms of being on the ice, then how can you be the best in terms of being a teammate? Can you cheer a little bit louder? Can you get someone going up? Can you give them a pep talk? Can you give energy in a different way? So I think there's just different ways of how you can manage your emotion and nervous and excitement, and then just making sure that your head's in the game, you understand the objective, and you're just trying to move the needle forward together as a team.
Go ahead, Evan.
I was gonna say, Pawel. So I just got a text from Jeff. So Jeff wants to ask you a question. Before a game, whether you're coaching or playing, have you ever had to throw up before you go out? It must be because you're talking about nerves.
I've never thrown up, but I did have a player that played for me at UMB, Jen Bell, that would throw up after every period.
We're name dropping. Oh, sorry, Bell.
Yeah, Jen Bell. I love the girl. She's the smartest player, smartest person I've ever coached. Like, came to me one time and she was all upset, and I'm like, "What's going on, Jen?" She's like, "I didn't get perfect on my exam." She's in computer engineering, and she's getting perfects on all her tests, and she's like, I'm like, "Well, what was it?" She's like, "It was the bonus question." I'm like, "Oh, for the love of God." Like, just an absolute brilliant brain, and just one of the best people that I've ever gotten to coach. And she's coaching with us a little bit this year too. And yeah, I'm like, "Jen, are you okay? Like, what's going on here?" But last year when I was pregnant, like I wanted to throw up a few times, but it wasn't because I was
They call it
I made it to 38 weeks at nationals. Like, I was on the bench at 38 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
A week and a half later, Gray came. And
goodness.
those last few days I was very uncomfortable. I don't know why I was on the bench, but I just stood there and just kept patting them on the back. I'm like, "You're doing great, sweetie. Like, good job." Like, I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I don't know how I even got to Montreal. It was all a blur, but
that is a dedication to your craft.
yeah, I just love the girls, and that picture that you showed, all those girls graduated last year. So I wanted to be there. I was alongside them for the entire ride. They're my ride or dies. I just absolutely adore them. And after the game, I just cried. That's when I felt pregnant the most. And I just started crying and crying. They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm so sorry, you guys." Like, they're like, "Oh my God, you're literally here. You're pregnant. We're so happy here." I'm just like, holy smokes, this is crazy. But the craziest thing I've ever done, that's for sure.
That's amazing. We got Maurice taking in, loving two guys in Hockey Talk. Salute. Yeah. And Daniel Barry from Sports Highlights was just saying yo, so he's just tuning in. So we appreciate everyone tuning in here. We're going to be finishing up here at the end. We don't want to take up too much of your time. We know you're a very busy person. We'll finish up here. But one of the things I just wanted to add, because I know that we were just talking about sitting behind the bench. I know players can be a little superstitious, the nerves. And we know players oftentimes play a certain way, like value certain habits when they play. Is it the same for you and for coaches? Do you find that maybe it feels better when you're at away games or home games? Do you find that if you have a certain routine, or is that just kind of out the window? It's, out to lunch.
I'm not as superstitious now as a coach, but I still have my own things. Like, even today, I had a friend that came to the game with her little guy. So I was like, "Okay, great, let's go see them." So we go down to section 14. We go down the stairs, and we're standing there, and we're talking to them, watching the game. But I noticed that the puck was in our end a whole whack more. Like, it was just in there. And I said, "I'm so sorry. Like, I gotta leave you. I'm like, we'll catch up another time." So then I go back to my section, and then I go somewhere else. And I'm talking to our president of the university who ended up at the game, and I'm talking there. We scored 2 quick goals, and I had to stand there the rest of the period. And I'm like, standing there with like, Gray's getting a little heavy now. So, but I didn't move. I'm just like, okay, I'm in the same position. So, I think the only crazy thing that I do now is, like, during playoffs, if we're winning, I won't wash or change my socks. It's just, it's kind of gross, I know, but it's just during playoffs. It's not the whole year, but I've got some holy socks that probably need some stitches in them, but gotta.
You can say you're very religious about that. Then you got the holy socks to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. the girls are like, I'll tell them, I'm like, okay, we got Mickey Mouse sock power. Let's go. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Evan.
All right. Yeah. Last question before we let you go, and we'll be moving on the show. So now you did talk about playing with someone. My question is, and you talked about Pawel, which, the Russian rocket, right? In fact, we had Glenn Ringdahl, former vice president of the Canucks back then, that actually coined the term the Russian rocket. He shared on our show early on.
Go.
He actually paid for the copyright on that actual name. And then he passed it over to the Canucks when he stepped aside, right, to go over to the BC Lions back in the day. So, cool. Interesting. The really cool story. So the guy was full of stories. He also is the one that's helped the Chilliwack Chiefs get into the new arena, Prosper Arena, whatever. So anyway, for female players that are out there, past or present, do you have someone that you really enjoy watching, that maybe not your best of all time, but you really enjoy actually watching her play?
Oh, there's so many. The funny thing, I was going to say, my fun fact that I always say is that I played on Gino Ojek's softball team back in Vancouver. Yeah. My dad's best friend was Sasha Lakovic, and the pit bull there. And we played in the East Van softball league, which was exactly what you would think it would be. And so we played on his. He paid me to play on his team, so that's my yeah. Women hockey players: Cami Granado, Haley Wickenheiser, Jana Hefford, Fiona Smith Bell. There's just so many. Poulin's amazing right now. I've really, really liked Ella Shelton's game. Schroeder's been absolutely lighting it up. Julie Chu, even though she's American, same with Granado, but like Carla McLeod. The 2002 women's hockey team the Salt Lake City one. That is just like, 98, I was 8 years old, and I remember us going to the library and the teacher wheeling in the TV and watching it and being like, holy smokes, this is cool. But I really remember the 2002 one, the Lucky Looney in the ice, them winning was just one of the coolest things that I don't know, just watched as a kid. Like, it was just so inspiring, and it was fun. So there's just so many women that have paved the way to where we are now as a sport. It's unfortunate that they didn't get the opportunity to play like it is now. Yeah. But the game is where it is now because of them. And I'm so grateful and so thankful to those people who did it for nothing. They did it. They put their careers, they put their families on hold, they put everything on hold just to advance the sport. And we're very, very lucky to have these people, and we should never forget them. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Greatness recognizes greatness, so that's pretty impressive. Key says, "What's up, guys?" She's a big Philly fan out in the Philadelphia area, and because this is somewhat of a hockey NHL show, I do want to know, and I know you indicated Vancouver is your team, so any prediction? No, it's not your team?
I'm an Edmonton fan now.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask any bold predictions about the NHL, but feel free to finish your thought about this season or anything like that.
I think Vegas repeats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think Ottawa gets the first overall pick.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
They're going to be happy.
Yeah. That would be nice. And I think the Oilers lose out in the first round.
Oh,
I know. And I'm an Oiler fan.
We just lost half our clientele. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. And you know what? I'm an Oiler fan. And I don't know. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it from them this year. They're too inconsistent for me. And I just think in the playoffs, they're just going to play against a team that just wanted a little bit more. And the Jets would be my wild card. I think if any Canadian team is going to win the cup, it would be the Jets.
Okay.
Connor Hellebuck is too good of a goalie.
You heard it here first. So I guess Montreal really is going to get that extra 3rd or 4th round pick from that Sean Monahan trade.
Can you imagine?
Oh man. So I do want to make mention. We actually sometimes we have more Americans watching us than Canadians on the Two Guys in Podcast. Guys, thanks for joining us every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. We have Sarah Hareworth. She is the head coach of the University of New Brunswick Reds ladies team. She is on maternity leave, so she's just supporting them all over the place. So thanks so much for joining us and being with us here today. So Nevada, I was going to say, is actually our number 1 state tonight that's on. So you guys aren't saying nothing in the comments, but I know they're going to be happy to hear that you're saying that they're going to repeat, because that city is pumped.
Yeah. Oh, big time. They're just so good, and they play the game so well. And Bruce Cassidy, he's just got some magic down there. Like, he's a brilliant coach, and I think he's learned how to win. And once you get to playoffs, I don't know. Jack Eichel going on LTIR is a little fishy right now, but we'll see. What
he had knee surgery, so I mean that is legit. But
yeah,
I just heard Mark,
conspiracy theorists in the world of hockey, as one would say.
Yeah.
He's not Stone off right now. Stone is injured right now.
Or did he get injured last night after Nashville?
That's what it sounded like. I was going to actually follow up. So guys, if anyone's watching and Stone got injured, we can talk about conspiracy theories and see what we actually can find out here. Because everyone's thinking that between Tampa and Vegas, that's the only way to win the cup is to be over. And we have a suggestion, Sarah. We believe the Caps should still be compliant in the playoffs, no matter who the team is. That would kind of deal with a lot of the issues that people are calling conspiracy.
Yeah, I would agree for sure.
So thank you so much for coming on the show, Sarah. Where can people find you, or if they're in the area of Newfoundland, where could they get tickets and go see some of the games? Even if you're not coaching, of course.
Yeah.
Where do you want people to connect with you or follow you and things like that?
Yeah. I would on Twitter it's at Hilworth, HILWORTH. Same with Instagram, but follow our team account at UNBWHKY. I think it's UNBW Hockey. That's what it is. And you know what? Like, just you can find us in New Brunswick at the Aiken Center. Fredericton is an awesome hockey town. We'll be in Halifax here on Sunday and Monday night, taking on SMU, hopefully taking the series from them. But go out and support women's hockey. It's a fantastic product. You won't be disappointed. Bring your young boys, bring young girls. Make sure that they have idols that are not just NHLers, because there's a lot of people playing the game at a high level that really would appreciate a lot of support. And, I think that there's just so much amazing women doing amazing things that that I think that everyone would be impressed by going to.
Well, thank you so much. We 100% agree with that statement. We hope to see more involvement in women's hockey in all levels. Thank you again. We hope to have you back on the show if Evan doesn't ruin your experience because he blacked out. We wish you all the best with your new family and all the best in all your endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's been a blast. Thank the wife for giving you up for an hour here.
Yes,
I will for sure.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you much, Sarah, for coming on the show. That was greatly appreciated. Some really, really insightful things about coaching, about leadership, the value of building that rapport with your players. So I really appreciate that. Evan, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love, like I said, I think she crafts a story so well. And, like I said, I actually felt like I was in it. I'm serious. It's like, I know she probably is an inspiration. So if anyone's ever catching this, including Jaden Spooner, if you found that she's been an inspiration to you, definitely drop her a line. Let her know. I think one of the most important things is when someone's influenced our life and done something and it's encouraged us and built us, that it's important to go back, because we all know we get discouraged and sometimes you do all this extra work and you wonder, was it worth it? Prove it to them that it was worth it by getting back and letting them know. And so, Sarah, that was a fabulous interview. Thanks for all those coaching questions and stuff like that. Even how things work around women's hockey and stuff like that. So much appreciated. So thanks again. Keep your stick on the ice, Sarah.
Now we have a few other things to get through, and I believe you wanted to get through a rant you may have had. So tonight's rant is brought to you by JR Web Designs. For all your website needs, they do great work. They get your stuff up and for a great price. JR Web Designs, give them a follow, get their business, because they do great work.
So,
All right, Evan.
okay, I got a problem here. Stadium series. They say they have every team in the NHL that they have a jersey ready for across the entire league for a stadium series. Well, first of all, the Heritage Series is supposed to be for only Canadians, and then America's kind of got their Winter Classics, and now they've added this stadium series piece. It was a fabulous game. I have no question. This is not about outdoor games. This is about jerseys. So I'm at the game the other day. So Pawel and I went, we'll talk about this a little later, but we're at a WHL game for the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League. And I'm walking out and about. First of all, the team on the ice, they got Nickelodeon. They're going to auction off the jerseys. Do you realize those jerseys, people are on kids' jerseys? They're kids. Maybe they're a young adult because they're an 18er, 19er, but generally speaking, they're 17 year or 18 year. And they're selling those jerseys for $900, $1,100, $1,400. They're auctioning, and the other ones are raffles that you're spending, I don't know, let's just say probably about $100 of raffle tickets. And I'm looking and say, okay, they have that. Then I look behind me and they got another jersey. No, that was an alternate jersey. And then I look over there and they have another. This is one team. Where does it end? You cannot collect. And in the NHL, how many times? So I just saw, as I was heading back down to the parkade, because I was at Rogers Place, home of the Edmonton Oilers. And as I'm going through the parkade down below Rogers Place, I see a kid with the white alternate away jersey that was used by the Edmonton Oilers 4 times. I love that jersey. I was going to buy that jersey, but I ain't buying that jersey. It was only used 4 times, and it's gone. It's gone, man. How many are sick and tired of having those buy jerseys? So right behind me, see this? This is the Tucson Roadrunners. So that is an alternate 3rd jersey. It's an alternate 3rd jersey. They make special jerseys. In fact, I have another jersey for Christmas that was done. The Lost Trucker picked up for me. Oh, man, I could go on and on. I'm getting a headache just talking with you. That's it for my.
I gotta say, I really enjoy those New Jersey Devil jerseys. I thought they look really crisp and clear on the ice. But Kyle says, do you want to see more outdoor games, since you kind of alluded to that during the season? And I personally would. I think you do need some more outdoor games. And I think what it is, I think it's a cost thing. But I think if you can make it set up that each team gets 1 per season, that would be great, right? So that's just me. I get that they want to make a spectacle. But your thoughts?
So you're thinking 16 outdoor games a year?
Yeah.
So one of the things,
every weekend, every Saturday night hockey, outdoor, afternoon game.
So Kyle's got good question, Kyle. I don't want to see as many as Pawel. I like the stadium series. This is what I feel. If you have a Winter Classic and a Heritage Classic, you shouldn't have a stadium series also. I like the idea of alternating maybe the years of a winter, one, with another where there's 2 or 3 games for a stadium series. However, the Heritage game is not every year because there is only 7 Canadian teams, because Heritage is for the Canadian teams. I would like to see some games between America and Canada that would be a stadium series game, that because it could be played, and do like they did for the Oilers and Flames, do it late October. So that way, it's not going to be minus 28 Celsius, or heck, for that matter, minus 28 Celsius in Fahrenheit, even, not just Celsius, right? So I like the games. I think they do a great job, but it is costly for the teams because they have to give up a home ice sometimes. And I think the league should put something in that if they're going to do this, whoever's the home team should make money on giving up the actual home advantage, and the NHL should take a little less money out of it for themselves and be a little bit better to make some seats more affordable. So almost like a cheap section that can actually be for people to get to those games. Because if you're going to price them out and always have them over the top, I think most of us are just, we're watching, so it's really good action. But I'd like to get the games, but it's very costly.
I think the Stadium Series also had close to like 80,000 people at it, right? Like it was quite packed. So it was impressive. Albeit I know people say that the view is a little limiting, but still the atmosphere is pretty electric. So that's pretty cool. Now, I want to go back to something before we finish off our rant of the night. We talked about just recently when we were at the game. So you and I had a discussion on season 5, episode 20. You guys can go check it out. Around 57 minutes. And we've got Lazarian Chriswell. Welcome. What's good? We are doing well. How you doing, Lazarian? Is there a team that you cheer for? Let us know. I want to talk about the fact that you said that they wouldn't fire Jarmo Kekalainen of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And your comments were something to the effects of, what are they going to do? What's the difference? And I said it's because they don't want him making any more decisions through the trade deadline to get rid of a young player like a Kent Johnson. And you said, nah, I wouldn't. So I'm calling you out on the fact that you thought it wouldn't happen, and yet it happened, just like I predicted. So clearly one of us has a little bit of inside knowledge about the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now he's out. He's out.
Yeah, it's out. He's out.
John Davidson has taken over, who was the president of hockey operations. He's out. What does Columbus do? And I know I want to rub it in your face, but what does Columbus do now? Who do they look for? Is it someone like a Mark Hunter, who I know Oilers are also potentially passively pursuing? The rumblings are. I know Jeff Jackson likes them. Or do they go outside? Because the talk is that they want somebody who has a hockey background, but not necessarily NHL background. Your thoughts on Jarmo Kekalainen being out and 11 years at the helm?
So really what you're saying is your thoughts on being wrong is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So first up, you called me out on it when we were at the junior game, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. However, I did go back. I didn't quite say it the way you are saying it. And so here's it. I know you're sounding pretty smart right now. Everybody can guess something's going to happen. If we check in history, Jarmo Kekalainen, oh my gosh, I can't even say his name tonight. Kekalainen. So one of the things is you don't normally change a general manager to get better. And you talked about what I was questioning. You said because of the deals, they put handcuffs on people. Right now, I guarantee you, Ken Holland from Edmonton has handcuffs. It's his last season. They're not letting him make certain deals. Jeff Jackson, the president, will not let him make those deals. Kekalainen would have been the same. He wouldn't have been allowed to make those deals. So I was shocked. Elliot Friedman was shocked. Jeff Merrick was shocked. Craig Button was shocked. All the insiders except you. You seem to be the one that knew so much because you guessed, but you were right. So I'll give that to you.
Yes. I heard rumblings from certain sources that he would be on his way out because there was a trade on the table that he proposed. I mean, there was a few, but there was one key one that with a certain name of a player. I won't get into it. And upper management said, no, we're not doing this. And you can allude to that name, and I'm happy to say who it is. But the problem is that this name got out there, Boone Jenner, because the captain, older, great grit player. Yeah. And there was something in the works with some teams. And I know the name came out afterwards, whether he was going to stay or not, because of how valued he is around the league. But the problem is that I knew that they were going to let him go. And what I noticed, it was a similar pattern in Ottawa where they didn't have that same opportunity and they let Pierre Dorian go, right? After he was supposed to rebuild. So we'll see what happens in Columbus. We'll be keeping an eye on it.
Go early. Yeah.
But that is our rant of the night, where we get to rant how I am right and Evan is not. Now, Evan, we did get a chance to see the Oil Kings face off versus the Medicine Hat Tigers, and we got to see some very high-scoring, dynamic hockey. What is defense? What is defense? Now, I know there was one key player that you wanted to focus on, and that would be focused in on your REVS top 15. So
Sweet.
REVS Top 15 is brought to you by Sports Empire for all your sport needs. You've got Freddie, Gene, Kyle over there, Key, doing all the great work, whether it's MLB, NFL, the NBA is kicking off after their wild all-star game. Opinions on that are out there. Everything else you want to know, wrestling, you got it covered. Go check out Sporting Empire for all their great shows. Evan, who did you want to talk about at that game that plays for the Medicine Hat Tigers?
So, so we went out to the game. I brought this up in the last couple of weeks that Pawel and I were going out. We're going to catch Gavin McKenna, 16 years old, just turned late December, 16 years old. He's sitting at, what's that?
Number one WHL draft pick.
Well, yeah, but to clarity, he's not the number one yet, but he is ranked number one for 2026. That's 2 years from this coming June. So he's got over 27 months that before he's even going to be able to be up and eligible. And this guy is dominating already. So let me just give you some quick facts. His last 5 games, he's got 11 points. His last 10 games, he has 22 points. He is 16 years old, 6 feet. He's only 165 pounds. And right now, after this last game, he has 50 games played with 81 points. He's on pace right now to finish the year with 101 points as a 16-year-old kid. So, Pawel, I don't know what you saw on the ice, so I have video that I'm going to be putting up on Facebook. I was going to edit a few pieces for you guys to see just some of his back play. That guy's stick, he knows how to keep his stick in the lanes. He's got a good reach. He looks like Mario Lemieux is what I followed Lemieux when he was young. Like we're talking, I was just a young kid that had a chance to follow his stat lines, and I saw some old video later on as I was going into my adult life and watching how Lemieux, everyone thought he was slow, but he wasn't slow. And Gavin McKenna, he's just there. He just shows up. I think he has a lot. If he doesn't look urgent, he doesn't look like he's pressing it, but very seldom he misses the puck, and the puck always comes to him. And I think I mentioned this. There was a play where they actually scored a goal. They didn't go to him at all. And yet they were in these tight quarters. He was wide open. He's like Ovechkin. He's like Draisaitl. He's like one of those guys that does a lot of that. And so after this game, I brought mention to Pawel at the end of the game. This was my interpretation. And I brought it up to my friend Phil, who used to be on the Two Mutts podcast. So, hey, Phil, if you're catching this, hey, man, shout out to you. And by the way, he's a Flames fan, so you guys would like him that are Flame fans. Oiler fans, boo, that's what they'll say. But so I was telling Phil, and Phil's son, his coach, he does scouting for the Vancouver Giants. And one of the things he said, the same thing I told Phil and I told Pawel. I actually think Gavin McKenna will have a better career and be an even more elite player than Connor Bedard, his cousin. And if you're not familiar, Gavin McKenna, remember, he's a lot bigger, a lot taller. He has a lot more frame to be able to put out there. But right now, who I had ranked in my top 5, Caden Lindstrom, is out right now in Medicine Hat with an injury. So he's stepping up and he's playing a lot of minutes, and this is good development. So I don't know. What did you see when you were watching him on the ice? Obviously, I mean, you were cheering for the Nickelodeon boys in that game, and it was a while to talk about the game a bit, maybe even like Joe Aginla, Jerome's boy. But what was your thought?
You know what I noticed? He was very speedy. He could skate. He was very slick on the ice, and he could move the puck very well. He had very good control, and you could definitely tell he had a higher IQ in relation to the rest of the players. And given that he's not as big of a body as some of the other guys, he's a little smaller, he was able to get by some of those bigger Oil King defenders And that's what I noticed. And I thought, he has some hands, especially that one goal that went top shelf in the goalie. And I know the goalie left a little bit of room in that corner, but it's still not that much space. So that hand-eye coordination, that was very impressive. Granted, the Oil Kings, I'll be honest with that game, left that right side open a little bit more. They played a little bit more collapsed, but I really think that he was very dynamic in the game, and he definitely made an impact. So I liked what I saw.
Amazing. Yeah. What did you think of Joe Ginla, the youngest?
Again, just like his brother, a lot of talent. Like his dad, he's a little smaller side, but he scored a goal. He made an impact. Good passer. Read the play well. He wasn't I don't know if he was playing top minutes or if he was playing on this bottom minutes. I'd have to look it up. He's playing top six. Yeah, I didn't see it as much, but I think he did very well for what it is. But I didn't notice him as much as Gavin. So that's just, yeah.
Well, let's face it, like we get there and the youngest player on the ice, Gavin McKenna, unless Joe might be just a little bit younger, because he just was eligible this year to be full-time. So interesting enough, though, Gavin McKenna got 3 goals and 2 assists in a 9-8 win. Was it 9-8? I believe it was, right?
It was 9-8, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. What a barn burner. So, but anyway.
One thing, anyways, or is there anything else about the game? Because I wanted to bring something else up.
We're good.
So I know people were kind of talking about this, and I had a friend from the hockey team go. They got to see the inaugural of season and jersey lifting of Mr. Jaromir Jagr. The Pittsburgh Penguins did a great job. I'm sure everyone has an opinion on Jaromir Jagr, but I wanted to know your thoughts on the career and legacy of Jaromir Jagr, and maybe if there's a highlight in your history. I know you're a big Pittsburgh fan of his play, be it with them or any of the other teams within half the league that he played for. Your thoughts on his career and what he meant and means for the game of hockey.
Yeah, well, and let's face it, his elite career was with Mario Lemieux in Pittsburgh, and that was really the pinnacle of his career, I believe, at all times. After that, he was a star player, but he wasn't a superstar. He was fading off shortly after at that timing with some of the teams, and it's like he prolonged. I kind of wish he wouldn't have prolonged it because I felt like it kind of took away the mystique of who he was. But yeah, one of my favorite memories is 1991 in the Stanley Cup, watching Ron Francis, Jaromir Jagr, Mario Lemieux, Sergei Gonchar, and Kevin Stevens on the power play, and watching Jagr literally with those tree trunk legs. For people who don't know, and I don't remember the age, he was taught to do squats at home. His dad made him do squats 10 years old, I believe, or maybe it was even younger. I forget the story totally, but he had to do squats every day. Like we're talking 100 squats every day. He had to build and build and build and do squats and build up his leg strength. Hence, he didn't have to be fast, but man, you could not get to him at his height and the length. And so I actually find, could you imagine Sidney Crosby and the strength of his core and his legs? Because they talk about how strong his legs are. And then add literally almost a foot more. And that's what you had with Jagr. And my favorite memory is always watching him go down the wing with the flow, with that hair flowing. I used to love Ron Duguay of the New York Rangers, but once Jagr came in, that's who I love. So that's my favorite memory. So, hey, let me throw out, we're going to have to call it quits here. But what I'd like to do is ask you a question before we go out here. All right. So before we wrap up, this is what your question is. And if you're a fan, you can throw this in the comments box before we call it a wrap here today. What I'd like to know, and that Pawel was not ready for this question. So tell me a larger than life personality on the ice. Someone who's larger than life, has nothing, it does not have to do with points or scoring or anything like that. Just a personality that's an NHL hockey player that was larger than life, either past, present, past or present. Doesn't really matter. Go for it. Larger than life.
The first thing that comes to mind to make it easy, so it's not like a Jeopardy line, is Georges Laraque. I think he really made an impact on the game. I think he was larger than life, not only physically, but he was an impactful player off the ice in the community. Really fun guy, the sweetest man you'll ever meet, but you would not want to go toe to toe with him on the ice. He could, make you pay. He was always able to be that clutch player to score that really nasty, greasy goal. But the man was larger life, and he continues to be an impactful guy. I believe he's involved with the Montreal Canadiens organization, if I recall, right now. And he's just a fun guy. And yeah, I enjoy watching him. I think he was a big personality. More modern, you can even say PK Subban. I know that he's really brought it as well. With his fashion statements and how he approaches the game. But yeah, that's okay. Who I would say.
Wow. And I'll just throw this out quickly. I doubt he's going to listen to our podcast. He's busy with his own, and he's out there. I don't like his takes. I don't agree with him, but he definitely knows how to talk hockey. He knows how to talk everything else, and that's Paul Biznasty. Biznett. Yes. So he is definitely larger than life. And you know what? Good on him. He's made a career out of it. He's found a way that, while he wasn't a star on the ice, he was a laborer out there. He was a blue collar hard worker. Good for him, with it. So, all right. Well, unless you have anything else, I think that we're about ready to call it a wrap.
We are. So once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter /X at REV or myself at hockey_2. We are on YouTube, so give us a like, a follow. We appreciate every like helps us with our videos. We thank you for your involvement, for your engagement. You guys are the best hockey fans in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. We've got more jam-packed shows coming up in the following weeks, so make sure you get here to follow us and watch us. Evan?
And Mark Allred is going to be on with us, just a heads up so everybody knows for next week. So Mark Allred does work with the Black and Gold Show. He's got his own podcast. He's a writer for the Bruins. He's actually predicted their newest guy, Justin. So he'll be back. So he's going to be coming on. He was one of our not our guests, but he was actually one of the guys that was in our chat just a couple weeks ago. So if Mark, you're catching, man, we're looking forward to seeing you next week. I think he's going to bring the heat. If you catch his show, we're going to talk Bruins. So Kyle, thanks, man, for saying it's a great show. But next week, Mark Allred, which is going to make it even better. And we are going to dedicate a half an hour to talking to all things around the Bruins and their development system, what's happening, what's going on, and stuff that we probably don't even have a clue. And I got to say, we don't have enough people that we know around the organization. Some people who we used to know are no longer connecting in the Bruins organization. They're elsewhere now. So, but looking forward to that show. So as we say every week that it's been another ring-a-ding-dong dandy, but in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe, everyone. We appreciate you. Cheers.
Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche. Done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tie. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill. Every
He
time
didn't get fired. He didn't get fired.